Welcome to Leveraging Inspiration, the Inspired Patent Podcast. Your employees are using ChatGPT, whether or not you know it. Are they giving away your trade secrets or putting your company at risk by disclosing confidential information? In this episode, we are talking about ChatGPT and the risk to your trade secrets. I'm Wayne Carroll, your host, here to share valuable insights, stories, and strategies for succeeding in intellectual property. Let's dive into the game of IP and learn how to win. This podcast is strictly educational and informational. It does not constitute legal advice, and listening to it does not establish an attorney-client relationship. Your employees are using artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT. As I mentioned on the previous episode, there was a survey done where it showed that 43% of professionals are using ChatGPT. Most of them, about 70% of them, don't tell their boss. So if your employees are feeding your confidential information and trade secrets to ChatGPT, they may be training an AI to help your competitors with your trade secrets, or potentially worse, putting your company at risk of disclosing confidential, personally identifiable information that can result in huge costs in data breach procedures to go forward. So just a quick review of trade secret requirements. There are two main requirements. The first one is you need to have knowledge that others don't have, which is valuable because you are the only one with the knowledge. And the second part is taking reasonable measures to keep it secret. There have been alarm bells going off in corporate America around the use of ChatGPT. Amazon reportedly recently put out a message to all their users, especially the coders, the people that are writing computer code, saying they are not to share any Amazon confidential information, including code that they're working on. There's been reports that Samsung, and Amazon reportedly has seen data that mimics their own code, indicating that ChatGPT has been trained on their confidential code. And we're going to discuss in just a second about how that happens. Samsung says they discovered employees entered trade secrets into ChatGPT, and they've announced that they're developing their own AI tool. JP Morgan Chase, Verizon, Apple, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and others have all reportedly announced and told their employees, don't use ChatGPT. So let's talk about real quick about how ChatGPT works in terms of what you feed it and your trade secrets. ChatGPT is a learning model. Every time it learns, it updates and can use that information. There's actually two different ways to access ChatGPT. Most people know of the website access. That is referred to as non-API access. The other one, of course, is API access. An API is an application interface that allows a program to ask for information from another program and get information back. So a company that's going to, if they want to use API access, they need to write some of their own code or use their own program to do that. And the API access is typically paid access. So there's a certain amount of cost to each request. It's pretty small, but there's still a cost, and it can add up if you're a large company. So when you access ChatGPT on non-API, it goes ahead and gathers that information. You're feeding it, it's learning. If you use if you use API access, you are just asking based on what it already knows. It's not learning based on your data, and it returns an answer based on what it already had trained on. So it doesn't train on your data. So if your employees are desperate to use ChatGPT or a tool like that, you need to figure out, why do they need it? And is there a way your company can provide it while still protecting itself? So some of the things that you may want to consider doing is implementing strict policies. You want to clearly define who and for what use people should be using ChatGPT. It is a powerful tool, and it's free to a certain extent, and it can be used, and it is used in a lot of great ways that don't risk companies' confidential information or trade secrets. But defining those and putting down policies and making explicit prohibitions for specific things. Part of that is defining what are your trade secrets or confidential information and who has access to them, writing that down and making sure it's very clear to employees, you do not put this into ChatGPT. You might consider updating your confidentiality agreements that employees have, and specifically mentioning that if they take your confidential information and hand it to ChatGPT in the non-API access, they have breached their duty to the company, and they may be facing a lawsuit from the company, if not at least just firing them, and really help them understand. The goal with this isn't to frighten your employees, it's to help them understand that your company has worked hard to comply with laws regarding confidential information, personally identifiable information, and they're risking the company's profits and their own paycheck if they disclose that information. And that the company's also worked hard at collecting and gathering confidential information of their own. And they need that information to be able to compete and provide them with a paycheck. So some of the things, make sure your policies say don't give personally identifiable information to ChatGPT. You can actually, and doing the API access, you can put safeguards in place and force people to make sure they have removed that information before it goes to ChatGPT, as well as it's not training on that. I recommend regular audits and assessments, as well as regular training of employees, awareness. It will be important to have those policies and those trainings. You may want to have an attorney do an overview or review of those, as well as your legal agreements with employees. And of course, you want to stay informed about AI developments and the law. That's part of what we're here to do, is to help you stay up to date on this quickly shifting landscape of intellectual property and AI and what's going to happen there. So ChatGPT has a lot of great uses. Some people use it in ways that are risky. You don't want to be one of those people. You want to use it in ways that give you the competitive advantage without taking the risks. And clearly, some of the big companies have already discovered that's been happening. And back to that survey, with 70% of people that are using, professionals that are using ChatGPT at work, aren't telling their boss. It's time to go to your employees and say, okay, we're not going to slap anyone's hands. Let's just start fresh, have a policy. Let's go forward with this policy. If you need to use ChatGPT, tell me why and tell me what you're doing with it. That's what I recommend, is asking your employees to tell you why they need it, how it can help them, and then you can work with them to make that a safe use for your company and the people your company serves with their personally identifiable information. This podcast is for small businesses, and we've been talking about what the large businesses do, but small businesses can learn from the large businesses. They can often react faster and look for solutions that are easier to implement. There may be software that comes up very quickly that you can use to give access to ChatGPT or other tools to your employees at a low cost and a low risk. Until that happens, it's time to quickly assess what risk do you have and what's actually happening inside your company with ChatGPT and other AI. Some of the things that you can do with the API access is you can actually train. When you understand what it is your company needs, you can train and have preset queries and refine those queries so that it gets better and better results. These are some of the advantages that I expect coming in the future is access for small companies. The large companies are going to be developing their own AI systems. That way they have tons of control. But there is a way for small companies to still get some of that control while they utilize the benefits and the time saving and the cost savings of ChatGPT and other AI. When it comes to intellectual property, it is a changing area all the time. But trade secrets, of course, if you don't put into place policies and your trade secrets leak out through ChatGPT, you're going to have a hard time enforcing those trade secrets against someone else, possibly. So if an employee leaves and you want to say they can't work for my competitor because they have a non-compete agreement and we have confidential information that needs to be protected, one of the defenses to that by the company you're trying to stop may be, look, you've already let it go. It's not a secret. Therefore, all the work you did in protecting it is no good. This is what we're hoping to prevent by taking a quick assessment of, is ChatGPT a risk in your business? I'm Wayne Carroll, and this is Leveraging Inspiration.